This is Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk.
On volume, Sirius XM 106.
This is Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk.
On volume, Sirius XM 106.
All right, back live from the Sirius XM studios in New York City. Eddie Trunk here, Trunk Nation, our new channel, Volume 106, live Monday to Friday, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern. And joining me in the studio now, a man who, you know, when I started doing this show, there was some discussion about when my travel happens and there's conflicts and I can't do a show, I may need a sub, and this could be a big audition for this guy. He's had some big auditions in his life, but I mean, he could very be... this could be a big moment for Mike Portnoy here. You could be the surrogate.
See, you're just breaking this to me live on the air. You're putting me on the spot. Maybe I don't want to do this. Maybe I don't want to talk for 2 hours at a time. No, that would be awesome.
Mike Portnoy is here.
I had no idea.
My good friend Mike Portnoy. Yeah, well, I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I just was worried that I travel so much that when
I never travel.
It's not
I'm
like
home
you never
all the
travel.
time.
Yeah, you're only in 55 bands. But Mike, of course, let's give the rundown while we wait for Rick Wakeman and Trevor Rabin to come in. Who, by the way, do you know those guys personally?
I know Rick. I've toured with Rick and done some things with him. I've never met Trevor, though.
What kind of things did you do with him?
Well, yes, in Dream Theater toured together in 2004.
Okay.
And then he presented me a Classic Rock Award a few years back at the Classic Rock Awards in England. So, yeah, I've known Rick for a while, but not Trevor.
Trevor Rabin is like the king of movie scores.
Oh, yeah. That's what he's been doing for like 20 years or so.
I got a list of some of the movies that he scored. It's extremely impressive.
Yeah.
Really.
And now you know why
stuff.
he hasn't been playing music all these years. I mean,
really.
That's a big gig.
Why bother with that sort of stuff? I think they're on their way walking in right now. And the other thing is Rick's son plays in Sabbath now, right?
Well, Rick's got two sons. Oliver was playing in Yes for a while, and Adam plays with Sabbath and also has a really cool band called Headspace as well. So he's got two keyboard-playing sons as well.
Wow. Okay. Well, we're going to talk. We only have limited time with Rick and Trevor, who are touring now under the name ARW with John Anderson, and we'll talk to them. They're about to walk in the studio any second. We'll spend some time with them till the bottom of the hour. Then they have to go, and then we're going to have 90 minutes with Mike and sitting in the entire show. Dave Mustaine's calling in at 3 o'clock. Mike's got some stuff to talk about as well, a number of things he's got going. He's got a record here with the Neil Morse Band coming out that he's extremely excited about. He says it's the best record he ever made, which I'm going to challenge him on probably. Okay. But I'll listen with an open mind, and we'll see. And we now welcome into the studio. Gentlemen, take a seat, please.
Hello.
Oh.
Sorry, that's your wardrobe.
Rick, how are you?
I've been watching you for a while.
You have.
Good seeing you.
Oh, yeah.
That's always scary when rock legends come in and say they've been watching me. It's supposed to be the other way around.
Now, if you have a whole show of nothing but talk, you don't get a break. People
No,
just
well, we got
walk in
commercials. We have commercials.
Nice to meet you, man.
Pleasure to meet you guys, man. Thank you for taking the time.
No problem.
Let's get your microphones on. Everybody will be able to hear you, and then we can. I was just talking to Portnoy about this. Rick, you guys have done some stuff together, huh?
We have, I think.
We toured together in 2004.
Was it 2004?
Yeah, 12 years ago already.
Wow.
Yeah, hard to believe.
He's
Good
starting
fun.
to play drums.
Yeah, it was 2004.
Yeah. Yes, in Dream Theater, and then
That's it.
I saw you a few years ago at the Classic Rock Awards. You
That's
graciously gave me
I gave you
an
the
award.
award.
Yeah.
And I graciously said, it's a great pleasure to give you this award, but it'd be even greater pleasure if I'd received it.
Well, we have a surprise for you here today, Rick.
Well, they gave it to me the next year. It was quite funny, actually. It was good. Yeah, no, you very well deserved
We're not
recipient of that. You were.
on camera. We're not live for it yet, right?
Yeah,
we
we're
are.
on the air right
we
now,
are.
Trevor.
There's no break here. It's,
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you walked right into a radio show.
Oh, wow. How is Jason Becker? I haven't
We need
been
you to
in
get up
touch
on the mic a little
Okay.
so we can hear
Do you know what's happening with Jason?
Jason Becker, did you see the documentary on his life?
Oh yeah, he's been in touch with me quite a lot because I did a track for the album. I just haven't had no chance to mix it yet.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But I just didn't know how things were going because I hadn't been in touch for a while.
Last I had heard from him, he was doing well. We had him on my TV show. It was very difficult, obviously, with what he's dealing with for him to speak, to communicate. But it's a remarkable story because the guy was told that he should have been dead 20 years ago. And this, if you watch the film, it's incredible. And I think he's trying to make this record, through his computer and stuff. But you contributed to the record?
Yeah, I finished it, the song, but I haven't mixed it yet.
For people that don't know Jason Becker's story, he is a brilliant guitar player from the 80s, and he was working with David Lee Roth making a record, and he didn't feel right. He was a little bit off. He felt a little off. He went to the doctors, found out he had ALS, and he has been battling it for forever. He was given 6 months to live at that point, and that was 20 years ago. And he can basically just move his eyes, and he creates music with a computer program with his eyes. And I didn't know he was working on a record of original material, but that's very cool that you're going to hopefully contribute.
No,
absolutely.
What an inspirational movie. That movie was unbelievable.
Especially when you consider the people around him and what they endured and what they went through. So let's talk a little bit about what you guys have going on. You're out on tour right now. ARW, how's it been going? Okay.
It's been fantastic fun, hasn't it?
It's been such fun. We've been contemplating this for quite some time, and we've all been busy. I've been doing film scores for 100 years. And Rick's been doing a lot of everyone's, and John, just so busy. We talked of doing it, and it just never arrived. And the passing of Chris Squire is really what was the catalyst for us deciding, okay, that's...
If we don't do it now...
Should have get off the pot,
And it's very important to us, because, we John and I, we did some duo stuff together, which was like great fun. We did about 3 tours and did an album, and all the time we said the next stage has got to be have a band, play Yes music as we feel it should be played, and there was only one person we wanted as part of that. That was Trev, and Trev was well up for it, and it was a sort of a Yes music lineup that had never happened before. And Trev and I had talked about it back in Union days, that this is what we wanted to do, and it's turned out quite literally 100 times better than any of us, I think, dreamed it could have done.
Yeah.
We all sleep together. It's fantastic. It's
the most I've enjoyed being in a band.
Yeah.
It's undoubtedly and I'm not just saying this, it's the call it a Yes lineup, for whatever you like to say, playing Yes music. It's the lineup with the most musicianship of any of the lineups I've ever been with, apart from this genius next door. And John's singing like an angel, and Lee Pomeroy, bass player, he's regarded in Europe as the finest bass player there is floating on. The guy's genius. And Lou Molino was a great friend of Trevor's. I mean, great drummer. And put those two together, and you get pure, unadulterated sex.
Mike, you know these guys that are talking about it, the rest of the band?
I've never seen.
He's my de facto prog expert.
Oh yeah.
Well, I've never met Mike, but I've been a huge fan of him for a long time.
Thank you. Well, same here.
He's rather good.
He's in about 70 bands, so the odds are there's at least one you're going to like that he's done.
I'd be happy for him to make one just him playing drums.
Absolutely.
I was waiting for the call from you guys for the last couple of years. I was just waiting for the call. It never happened.
He was by the phone. He was waiting for the
last time I saw you,
hotline.
Trevor, I saw you both together. I saw the Union tour. I saw it about 3 or 4 times. That was one of the greatest shows I've ever seen. Because as a Yes fan, to see all the different lineups come together, to see you two in particular, because until that tour, you were 2 distinctively different eras. And to see you guys on stage together was amazing. And
it was kind of like
25 years later.
It was really like a magnet. I mean, there were so many people on stage, and I just kind of went straight for Rick.
And it was the same. I have to say, it's really interesting. I mean, now we're about 12 shows in, and there's that great telepathy that goes on. People say, "Why did you smile at that particular point?" It's because I knew what he was going to do.
Right.
And that's great when it's not when somebody does something and you go. And I look across at something like, because you just, and that's a great feeling, and that's when you know you've got great musical empathy, and it's really good.
I'm looking down the list of the albums that you each made with Yes, and there's only one that you actually did together, right?
And it wasn't even together.
And we weren't together.
It was 2 separate bands.
Union?
Yeah, Union.
Okay, so Union's 91 and 91 on here. So the discography they gave me, but explain what happened.
But I didn't play on any of the tracks that that Trev was involved with, and he didn't play on any of the one. And in fact, the guy, I call him a guy, I've got another word for it, but we're live, who actually put it together. The problem was there were two bands. There was a Yes Man, there was ABWH, and the managements decided to put it all together. There's various reasons why they decided that. I was very pleased because I thoroughly enjoyed the tour. And it was left to a guy to put the album together, who decided that he was going to have all of his friends on it. I think the only person who wasn't at the time was the president. I think the Queen of England did BVs, and it was when I heard the album. I was gifted on cassette, and I was in America, and I was driving down a freeway, and I did listen to it to the end, and then I just wound down the window and threw it out. I was so disgusted because there's I didn't play that. It was early days of sort of sampling of things and program, and the early days of Cubase and all that kind of lot. And he basically taken all this stuff and just done something completely different. And the same with all the guitars. I know this is a disgrace. I've got to be honest with you. Good songs on there, there's some good songs. That's the tragedy. There's some good stuff on there, but it's not Yes. I mean, you look at the list on who played on it, and everybody that existed in the world played. He got all his mates to come on it. Hey, come and play on a Yes album. It's an absolute disgrace. There you go. I've said my bit.
Good.
But
Go for it, Rick. Let it fly.
Yeah, but the tour was fantastic.
Yeah, the tour was fantastic. The funny thing was we weren't
ABWH.
There's a lot of initials flying around
there
here.
Is,
they can't keep the order straight.
That obviously had nothing to do with me, and at the time I was really just writing songs, and I'd written 3 or 4 songs, and I got a call from Clive Davis, who I had nothing to do with other than the fact that he passed on me in the early days with Tone of a Lonely Heart. He said it's not a hit.
Really?
Oh, he passed on it.
See, I love hearing those stories because a guy like Clive Davis thought of as this guru, and he is.
I've still
but
got
they
the
all
letter.
Make their mistakes.
I'll send you the letter.
Have you still got the letter?
I've got the letter. Yeah.
When you said he passed on you, I thought it wasn't urinating or anything like that.
It could have been, but the funny thing is, I had these songs, and Clive called me and he said that ABWH was looking for a single or something to that effect. I can't remember the words. And that's when it started being put together, because I had these songs. So the songs that I did had nothing to do with that lineup. So Chris played bass on the stuff. Alan played drums. Alan White played drums. John sang. I played guitar and pretty much the keyboards. I wouldn't have if Rick had been around. But so there were really 2 distinctive different bands. But the best any of that stuff was played is when we went on the road.
Because suddenly we were playing as we wanted to play them. And I think those tracks like Lift Me Up and something, they're light years ahead, aren't they?
Yeah, we played one of the songs from that album, and we're having a great time doing it.
So the great thing about that tour was you got to see, the 70s lineup. You got to see the 90125 lineup. You got to see ABWH, and you got to see them mixed together. You got to see every different configuration, which was great. But the album was too distinct. You never got to hear which of course leads to the next question. I hate to jump on you, but
no, go ahead.
I'm sure it's the question.
That's why I called the album the tour Union and the album Onion. Because it made me cry every time I listen. I've not listened to it since, and I won't.
I got to tell you a funny. Sorry to interrupt, but the funniest thing
is. Sorry at all. You said I'm going to interrupt him at every opportunity.
You were going to do it, Trevor.
I knew I was going to be interrupting you. No, but when this first was we're doing it. The manager who was representing Rick became the manager of the whole thing, which was a good idea and a great idea of Rick's. But he came over to LA to talk to me about doing it, and he had a gift from Rick, and the gift was an onion.
A giant onion.
A giant onion. I still have it at home. It doesn't taste too good.
In fact,
our
manager, Deal Elaine, who's sitting in the corner there, I think he's got a photo of it on his phone, which we can give it to you. You can stick it up on the site, the onion that was sent.
Go ahead, Mike.
Have you got it, Brian?
What did you want to ask before Trevor so rudely interrupted you?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Well, the obvious question, and I'm sure you're answering it every day, is we never got to hear original material with the meeting of your minds. I mean, is there any plans for original material with?
Yeah, this all started once we started talking about it. We started recording, and we're about an eighth of the way through an album.
Yeah.
But we just didn't want to start doing the stuff before it was really finished, because you know what happens. The next night it's on YouTube, not the way you want it done.
Of course.
And we want to do it for the right reason. You know,
Rick's got a visual here.
of the Onion.
With a bottle of Dom Perignon.
If you want to put that on the site for people to look at, the Onion that was sent.
Yeah, absolutely. We should do that. That's awesome.
It's very true what Trevor said. He said one of the things is, and I hate using sort of hackneyed phrases that are used a lot with, shall we say, more senior citizen bands that are coming back. We're doing this because this is musically what we want to do. This is not a bank raid. If we wanted to do a bank raid, you make the album, you do it quick, you grab it as much. This was never our intention. Our intention was always the music must come first. So it was also, and Trev was very strong on this in the first place. Yeah, let's fly music back for that's great, but let's not rush into anything. Let's do loads of dates together. Let's discover each other what we can do music that can only make the new music better. And that's basically the plan we've been working on.
Trevor Rabin, Rick Wakeman here in the studio with me on Trunk Nation. Mike Portnoy sitting in as well. Trevor and Rick currently out on tour, ARW, with, of course, John Anderson. Now, the interesting thing here with this tour, with you guys out together, it gives you the ability, I would imagine, with John singing, of course, to be able to play. You're playing music live from each of your eras of Yes, correct?
Yeah.
So it's a pretty varied set. And
yes.
How are you guys each enjoying playing some of the material that you weren't originally a part of in the studio?
Something that Trevor and I discussed right from word go. We came up with this simple idea which has worked tremendously well. Obviously with the pieces of music that I didn't plan originally, like Rhythm of Love and Hold On and Lift Me Up and all that, those pieces and changes, obviously there are parts in there and keyboard parts that are very important for the piece that people know and will expect to hear. So you do those. But we also, and the same thing with Trev, with the pieces that he didn't play, like a Waken and You and I and Heart of the Sunrise, is we've imagined that we were in that particular lineup at that time. So we both thought, okay, if we'd have been in the band at that time, what would we have played? What would we have done? So you do the major things, but then you've got complete freedom to go, well, if I was in the band, this is what I do. I do that sound, this. And what it's done, it's kept all the ingredients of all the pieces, but it's changed them all, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, you'd be surprised. It's a very fresh look at all the songs.
What he does in Awaken is so great to play against. Oh, what this is, and it hasn't changed the piece, but it's completely different. The same with a Long Distance Runaround, which is fantastic what this guy does. I mean, it just puts a big grin on my face. It's still the piece, but that's what Trev would have done had he been in the band. And that works so well. It really does, doesn't it?
And while we're doing this, thrusting compliments on each other. His solo in he does a solo. I mean, I do a solo in Own Over Lonely Heart, which is pretty much what I did on the record. But then at the end of the song, Rick takes a solo, which is just mind-blowing.
We have great fun.
And then we start sharing and bouncing off each other.
And playing music as well.
And playing music. Yeah. And we go out into the audience and have fun. So, you know, the old cliche, but it's such fun.
It is. We do have fun from start to finish. That's great.
You know what I always wanted to ask you guys? I worked in a record store when 90125 came out. So I know what the significance of the title was because it was the catalog number of the record.
Right.
But I always wondered, Trevor, why did you guys just get lazy and say, oh, screw it, we can't think of anything better and we're just going to use the catalog number?
You know, my only thought was because the band had been called Cinema, and then I was a little reluctant to call it Yes because I thought that's something else. But, you know, then it landed up that way. And my only input was, let's make the cover as simple and basic as possible so that it doesn't have the Roger Dean flamboyant, beautiful artistry, but just make it as simple as possible. So consequently, that
Here's
landed up.
Interesting piece of trivia. When Dream Theater signed our first deal to Atco Records, it was
of course,
the label that put out 90125. Our catalog number was 90126.
You were the record after?
For Dream Theater's Awake album. It was we intentionally
Oh, you asked for that?
Yeah, we asked for
It's
it.
a great album.
Yeah.
Wow.
What a tribute that is. He asked to be the catalog number after 90125.
Yeah, because it was the same label.
Did you ever consider calling it 90126?
That would have been great. But I think that was at the time that Beverly Hills 90120 was out, and it would have really confused people more than they already were.
Yeah, because working in a record store, people may not know this, this is before the days of even fax machines. So in order to reorder a record, we had to physically go. In the case of the Yes album, we would go to WEA, Warner Electro Atlantic, and I would physically, in pen, write 90125. And then when I made my order at the end of the day, for all the records, I still remember catalog numbers of records that we sold constantly, like Michael Jackson Thriller was 38112. Like, he just reminds me.
To reorder, you did that. Were you aware that Mike was actually sneaking into your shop and changing the 5 into a 6? You know.
That's true. We could have sold a lot more records if we would have mysteriously changed
the 5
number
to the 6. Yeah,
exactly.
It's funny. it really wasn't even my idea, but the guy from that record company, that friend who's mutual English guy that's got tickets. What's his name? The English record company.
Bit more of a clue. Do some sign language.
Derek Oliver?
God, we just talked about him.
Dante Venuto?
Clive David?
Derek Oliver?
No. The little English guy.
Not
Derek Shulman.
Green. No.
You guys,
the guy who's been divorced and
excuse me, let me jump in. You guys, I'm up against a break. Can you give me 5 more minutes?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we'll try and work out who that is.
Let's take a break while these guys work out there.
Did you sleep with him? I mean,
let's go to break. Trunk Nation, Trevor and Rick are going to figure this out. We'll come back with the reveal after the break in a few more minutes with the guys.
Phil
It's Eddie
Carson.
Trunk. Let's go to break, Alex.
No.
Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk.
On volume, Sirius XM 106.
This is Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk.
On volume, Sirius XM 106.
We are running tight on time here with Rick Wakeman and Trevor Rabin. Unfortunately, they've got to get on to other things and other business here in the building, so we can't hold them much longer. But before you guys do make your way out, and hopefully somewhere down the line we'll have time to really spend some time and talk some more. I'd love to do that. But tell everybody about ARW. You just started touring, right? You've got a bunch of dates here in the U.S., right?
Right.
Yeah, we started rehearsing way back sort of July, August. The tour started beginning of October, goes through to end of the first week in December. Then we've got a load of UK dates, which I'm pleased to say are all sold out already in March, which is great. Then we go to Israel, we then go to Japan, then there's some more European dates, and then rumour has it we're back here again in the summer.
Roger Waters is the promoter in Israel.
I was just going to say.
So it's.
Have you gotten your letter yet?
I'll be throwing it away if it comes.
Yeah, no, it's really good. I mean, we honestly didn't know what to expect when we came out. We knew what we wanted to do. We knew what we believed in, and we wanted to make Yes music as we wanted it to sound, and it's been the response from the audience from the people and the fans that have enabled this. This is going to go on and on and on and on. And with the new album next year and other stuff, I can see this going on well into 2018 and beyond.
Well, best of luck to you guys. They're giving me the kill sign that you guys got to get out of here. But
is that what the sign was?
Yeah, they're buzzing around outside the glass.
It's a self-pleasuring program.
I didn't get to. I didn't even get to talk to you, Trevor, about all your brilliant soundtrack work. I know, Rick, you've been doing some scoring as well. And, we'll hopefully have some other time down the road.
Absolutely.
Great. Travel safe out there, and thank you for taking some time to come in.
Thank you,
to see you and meet you.
Thank you very much.
You too. Thank you, Trevor.
Thanks,
and
Mike.
Here's my info. Hit me up if you're in LA, Trevor. I'm going to get out there next week, so we'll continue this another time.
Absolutely. Come to the show, by the way.
I would love to try to make a show. Absolutely.
Eddie Trunk lap dancing. Definitely be along.
Rick, radio doesn't pay like it used to.
I just got home from being on the road, and I live near Bethlehem. I know you just.
We were there.
Last week.
We were out there. Yeah.
I have a a list of the dates. I'm still hoping to catch a show.
I hope you do. Yeah, I really hope you do. Thanks. Yeah, we do a very good deal on tickets.
Yeah, I would love to see it.
I'm going to email you. I've got a funny story.
Yeah, please do. We'll definitely stay in touch. Thank you, guys. Take care. Yeah, as long as you've got $5 bills, not one. I have high standards. I want fives, not ones, Rick. Nobody needs to see Eddie Trunk lap dancing. Nobody. Take care, guys.
I've seen it.
You have?
I have.
So, wow, that was fun and brief, and that's the thing here. You know, yesterday I was interviewing Bon Jovi too, and Steve Leeds, who works in the talent department. I just see pacing and steam coming out of his ears. I'm not used to that. I've worked here for like 15 years. Nobody knew I was even here. Right. The guests come in and they stay for 3 hours. But we got to get on to other stuff. And now I'm just stuck with Portnoy.
But do you know the amount of stuff that Rick has played on? Do you know he played on all the early Bowie stuff, like Space Oddity,
I knew that.
Life on Mars?
I knew that. I knew some other things too because I did a little research, just in case you didn't make it here today. But of course, I'm familiar with Yes and Rick Wakeman and Trevor. And Yes, for me, when I was in high school, I mean, there was a segment of my high school schoolmates very much into that scene. I remember them having the.
I was one of them. I was one of those
gatefold
guys. Yeah,
of
totally.
The albums and all that. But I kind of more discovered Yes when Trevor came in with 90125, because again, I'm working in a record store and that record blew up. That's the biggest selling Yes record, which I didn't know by far.
Yeah.
And it's the one
that was their first number one single. Lonely Heart was their first number one song. No matter how big Roundabout and Seen All Good People and all that stuff was, it didn't have the radio impact that the 80s era had.
Yeah, he came in and there was a huge commercial crossover for the band at that point.
Well, all the prog bands in the 80s, to me as a prog fan, I grew up on the 70s era.
That's what I wanted to ask you, as you being a prog purist, and we'll get into some of your stuff in a second, but how did you feel about 90125 and Owner? Did you feel it was like a sellout?
It was, well, luckily the material was great. It was a great album, but it was a completely different band. It was a completely different sound.
I love talking about a band just after they left. They're outside the hall and we're talking about them. But they really sucked at that point, no?
But it wasn't just them. If you look at like what Genesis was doing in the 70s and then what they were doing in the 80s and, Pink Floyd, all the classic prog bands from the 70s had changed with the sounds of the 80s. And luckily, I think, even though it was a different sound, a different style, I think what Trevor brought to the band still had incredible musicality. It was still incredibly musical, very technical. And like I was just saying to him off air, I recently played Trevor's material. I put together a Chris Squire tribute last year on Cruise to the Edge, and we mainly played Trevor's material. And it's incredibly complex. It's a different sound. It's more polished, more streamlined, but it's still very involved music. It's just a very different take on it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we're going to talk more with Mike about not only prog music, but we're going to talk to you guys as well. Feel free to call in if you want to engage in the conversation. We welcome you to do so. 844-686-5867.